Hi guys, welcome to season 2 of Speak Up Africa. My name is Anyana Bulungu.
And mine is Wangeshi Karemi.
So you've probably seen this in February, but Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We missed you.
We did.
Yes, we did. Now, even though we missed you guys, we have to address some very pertinent issues. Now, we all know, or maybe not all of us, we can't always assume. So a lot of East Africans are facing food insecurity at the moment.
Yes.
You know, a big drought is looming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just want to talk about that because the numbers are alarming
in
Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Yeah, and I just want to start from why do you think, Wangeshi, we are having a food problem? We are an agriculturally rich region.
Yeah,
we're a very fertile region. Why are we having an issue with drought?
There are so many reasons that could lead to that. Yeah.
Yep.
There are so many reasons that could lead to why we have such high levels of food insecurity. When it comes to, number one, the drought, like you have mentioned, it's caused by very many things, including climate change.
Yeah.
Okay. And also because of the package that has been set aside by the government when it comes to disaster management, because this is something that is a natural hazard. So we have to come up with ways of how we're going to deal with it. So how are our governments structured their disaster management package and how are they dealing with drought? So if it's ineffective, food insecurity comes in.
Yeah.
We have stories like poverty, we have political instability, we have all of these things, But I think let's break it down one by one.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your face and you're starting to beam up a little bit. So, okay, so let's start with drought. Drought. So, talk to me about drought in East Africa. What do you think is the whole conversation behind drought? What do you think we are not doing? What is it that we are doing? What is it that we can do better?
You know, first of all, for me, I think this is a very interesting scope or area to look at because, first of all, if you live in some parts of East Africa, you will not even know that there are parts that are facing drought.
Yes.
Because truth be told, it's not like the entire region.
And some are very rich.
Yeah, and people in some areas don't even know that drought is going on.
Yeah.
So the areas that are particularly facing drought, I'd say some of them have been having drought issues for a very long time because that's the general climate of the region.
Yeah.
But we're also going to say, like, for the past few years, it's like we are through a transition, like in terms of climate. Stuff is changing. If you even observe the weather patterns, you find that in what used to be cold months, it's either they're way too cold or now they are hot or now it's raining during an otherwise would have been dry season.
Yes.
So first of all, we are having this climate change situation and it's global, to be honest.
It is.
So some areas are experiencing the wrath of it and some areas are not. For example, I cannot say that I have personally seen or lived in an area that is experiencing drought firsthand. Yeah, but I do know that Kenyans are facing drought in some regions, and so are Ugandans and Tanzanians.
Yeah. I think the conversation behind drought is normally very sensitive to people who have experienced it firsthand.
That's true.
And like, for instance, in Kenya, we have areas where they have overproduction of food and literally no markets.
Yeah.
And then we have another area that has no food, and we have pastoralists moving from one place to the other, and they still suffer the effects of drought.
Yeah, which means distribution.
Yes.
We're having a problem with the distribution.
And in one of the conversations that we had last year in season 1, because this is season 2, we are moving.
New year, new things, new year, new season, guys.
But then we didn't tell them to follow us on social media platforms, Speak Up Africa with a K.
Yeah, this is the point where you pause the video and go to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and follow us at
Everywhere.
Speak Up Africa.
With a K.
K is constant.
K is
I've
always
said that
constant.
enough times.
Word for you. I just wanted you to say K is always constant so you can propel
K
the
is always
conversation.
constant. Yes.
Can we blame the government? This is always my question in every podcast. Can we blame the government because of the rates of food insecurity?
No, when you talk about something like distribution, yes, we can, because we're not expecting the people who are in an area that is experiencing overproduction to still be the ones, because they probably don't even know the appropriate markets to approach. But the government is at a position where they oversee. They know which areas need it more. They know which areas have so much. So the government could do better in that sense.
In the sense of distribution.
Yes.
So in some sense, it means we're talking about aid, because if the government has to buy from one farmer and give for free to another, that's aid.
Yeah.
So is the government?
But you see, also they can't always give for free. They can only go for so long. I think they need to give aid. Yeah, that's for sure. But I also feel like they need to find a permanent solution or a more long-lasting solution. The people need to be encouraged, to work and find, ways to provide for themselves and all of that. But I know it also can't begin from the first, from the word go, because these people are hungry.
Yeah.
Nobody has the strength.
They definitely are hungry. Okay, so
so the government can only intervene and provide a temporary solution while finding a more long-term solution for areas that are facing drought.
Okay, so I'd just like to take it from a different perspective.
Okay.
I don't think that people going hungry is essentially the government's fault. The government should come up with better mechanisms on which to solve the problem and to plan ahead, because this is something that we have faced for years.
Yeah.
In Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, for the longest time, we've had over 2.something million people.
Yeah.
In
each country. This is
in
a
each
thing.
country. This is
like
a lot
combined
of
is
people.
over 5 million people
Exactly.
who are facing
This is
food
a lot
insecurity.
of people that are facing food insecurity that
Yeah.
will literally go hungry. So the government should come up with mitigation measures, better mitigation measures.
I agree.
But I can confidently say it's not necessarily their fault. I feel like we're going to
No, it's
get
not their
there.
fault for the people getting hungry or the area facing, climate change, and, being affected by climate change. But it's definitely their fault in the sense that, you see, even when you look at science and all of that, there's always predictions of, and they have been there
for some time
we're
now.
going to face some famine in like 3 years, blah, blah, blah. The government is always privy to this information.
Yes.
So
what
they
are
always
doing
know
about
what needs.
it?
These people don't even know. Sometimes they don't even know it's going to get worse.
Yes.
You're
living one day at a time. So you're trying to find food for today, and the government already knows that in 3 months.
And
it's not going to
sometimes
be
you do
food.
know that, okay, I need to find a solution. But again, we're talking about someone who's hungry, someone who doesn't know what they're going to eat today. So it's not the next thing at the top of their mind is not how they're going to solve this problem long term. It's how am I finding food for today?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Another issue that causes high rates of food insecurity in East Africa is poverty. Let's talk about it. Our first episode in this place, we talked about how the youth are the majority and how unemployed they are.
It's okay. English is not our first language, is it?
It is not.
Yeah.
Depending on who's asking.
About
Poverty. Let's talk about poverty and how it's affecting the youth and how it's actually a cause of food insecurity.
I hate to admit this, but poverty is a very big problem in East Africa.
It is.
I know in Africa in general, but like in East Africa, it's something else, because also we have the issue of social class, and then we have the what did we used to call it?
Elitism.
No, the huge difference between the rich and the poor.
I don't know what is it called.
That thing, guys. You can always tell us in the
thing.
comment section, but because sometimes, again, words escape our minds. So you look at it and you find that poor people, ordinarily, the definition of poor people in African countries are people who are back in the village and doing farming, but some of those people are stable in terms of being able to provide for themselves, and feed themselves. But then there's people who live in what other people like to call townships, other people like to call slums in the city, and poverty really hits them firsthand.
Have you ever slept hungry?
Out of choice, yes. I can just say I've been fortunate enough not to sleep hungry because of circumstances, but out of choice, yes. There's those days that you're not going to eat what you would have wanted to eat, because again, we are managing finances, but not that circumstances forced me. Have you?
Wait, I was not hoping
have you?
No, but I feel like I have. Not necessarily because I couldn't get food, not necessarily because I was entirely broke, but because I looked at my budget and I was like, if I eat today, I might not be able to do something else. So,
are we looking at food worth how much? Because that's also a thing for me. Like when there's those days that you're trying to manage this money because your life actually depends on it, but It's a sense that maybe I'd have wanted to eat food worth 250 shillings, but then I have to spend it and be like, eat food
But you'll
that
still
is worth
eat.
80 shillings.
If you had that 80
That's
shillings,
what I'm
you still
asking
eat.
for you. So for
But
you,
if you had
it had,
0 shillings, you would not eat.
you can also have 0 shillings but have food in the house.
Nimeteseka. I feel like there's gotten to a point in my life where I was like, I think I'm going to set aside money for something else, or that I do not want to eat because I can't afford it, literally. But I feel like it is not to the extreme of like I am dying of hunger,
Yeah.
or that if I really wanted to eat that night, I would not have eaten. You get? But I feel like the fact that money was a factor in this situation is, and I'm not poor. I don't consider myself poor.
I don't consider you poor, girl.
I'm
don't.
not poor, but I've had situations where I'm like, I don't want to spend this money on food, so I'd rather sleep hungry. That if I had this money, I would not have slept hungry.
Choices have consequences. Wait, you're saying, for example, you've had money.
If
and
I
you're
had
like,
money, I would
I'd
have
rather
eaten that
buy
day, though.
airtime, but as opposed to buying
Yes.
food.
Yeah, but you
So-
see, I
so-
should be
so
able
it
to afford
wasn't-
both of them. I should be able to afford both of them. Both of them are amenities that I want to
Yeah, but
afford.
you have two things. You have two options. You don't have enough for both of them, or you can split the enough and spend little here and little there. But you just chose to not eat, and that's by choice.
Well, it's a choice,
I mean,
but
it's
when you
helping
look when you look at it from like when it comes to basic amenities, okay,
Yeah.
I feel like I have been in a situation where I'm like, okay, you know what,
We've
tonight
all
I will
had
not
to
sleep.
choose,
I'm
though.
not
Yeah.
starving. I'm not dying of hunger, but tonight I will not eat because I do not have the amount of money to spend on that plate of food.
But you can, you have that money, but you can spend it on
I
something.
I
that have
can't
to
spend
choose.
it on something. I don't have the money to spend it on that plate of food. I could have gotten the money if I would have maybe made a few calls or something, like, distribution
Yeah,
of wealth and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But essentially at that point in time, I was like, I will not eat tonight because I do not have that money to spare for this food tonight. And I'm saying that because I am not poor.
This is not
this
during
is
the period.
me not
This
being
is this
poor.
is not during the period that I've known you, right?
No.
Because I'm like,
No, but
But I feel, generally, I feel like yours was by choice.
I feel like yes,
'Cause
it
you
was
could have
by
called
choice. It was by choice, but I feel like it was also not by choice. It's like in the middle of it.
I understand. Like sometimes it's hard to ask for money.
Money, yes. I didn't want to ask for money, and what I had was not enough. Now, me, I'm not
For
poor.
me, I've made those
The people who are
choices
poor
where
rather than me.
I'm taking black tea, but I'm not going to bed hungry just because. No, when I am hungry, but there's times when you have food in the house, but you go to bed hungry. But choice.
This is the state of the East African youth.
But they don't have choice.
Most
A
of
choice,
them-
that's different.
Most of them, even though those ones that have choices, no offense, but students in campus are just suffering. They just sleep, not because
it's
the source
hard.
of money, it's not coming. It's not like it's not there. It's just not enough. The inadequacy of the money is the problem. Yes, and you see now that's for me. Now you look at another one who's like me, who had the same income as me, and has a family of 4. Will you eat? Will you not eat? If you're going to borrow, are you going to borrow for yourself? Are you going to borrow for your kids? Are you going to borrow for the elderly in your community? Are you going to, you see, by the end of the day, you just go 3 days without food. Okay? Because this money was transferred to someone else. And when we talk about food insecurity, that 2.6 million of Kenyans, 2.1, 2.2 of Tanzanians, Ugandans, all of these people, these millions of people are facing food insecurity. It's not necessarily that they do not have a plate of food tonight. It's that there's a possibility that they could not have that plate of food. And it's because they can't afford it.
Or for tomorrow, and then you have to really balance your
yeah, you have to
finances
balance it. And when you talk about poverty, we normally extend it to the cost of health. When you talk about someone is in the hospital and you're wondering, will I eat? Will I pay the bill? Will I
This
buy
is the
medicine?
problem with poverty, and this is why I just God bless us.
Oh, bless us, we pray. Oh.
Yes, our pockets are being filled this year.
Amen.
Because this is the thing, though. I always feel like we shouldn't be getting to that point where we have to make a decision between two
that's
important
the point.
things, or 4 or 5 important things.
We should be able to afford everything that we need to live comfortably. Not the extras, not the sherehe here and there, not that. But we should be able to afford this. And when we say that people are facing food insecurity, we mean that there is a chance that they could not be able to afford that as a basic amenity. A day or two, but it still counts.
You talked about political instability at the beginning.
Yes.
And how it's affecting food insecurity in the region. And I'd just love to know, I'm sure all these people are eager to listen. What would you say, in what sense is political instability in the region? Because we have to agree. I mean, it's true we are facing political instability.
We are not a very stable place. We are
all
not.
the time. Yeah. So how would you say it's directly? Would you say it's directly or indirectly affecting, food insecurity or causing food insecurity? And in what way? In what sense?
Let's start with political instability cannot directly affect food. Okay,
Yep.
I feel like it can. I will refrain from finishing that statement.
No, I feel like
That's
it's
right.
directly and indirectly depending on the circumstances.
If I can, you see, there has been a lot of fights all over the region. Let's talk about Kenya in particular. There have been a lot of fights in Kenya, small clashes here and there. And when this happens, people have to move, okay? So we have this community that is moving from one place to the other. They are leaving their lands. They're leaving the places they knew, the places where they could farm and get the food as a resource from their own farms. They're leaving to go to a place they do not know, okay? You've left all of your wealth, assuming that your wealth was your home and your shamba. You've left it. Where are you going to get food from? Because of political instability, you've left it. Where are you going to get food from? And then we have the issues of like when we have clashes and like we have people involved, like the army and things like that. There's a lot of hoarding of food. And we had this discussion the last time.
We were talking about this when we were talking about the instability,
Security.
defense and external wars.
Yeah,
within
and we were
DRC.
saying that one of the things that the Kismayu soldiers, when they went to fight in Somali, one of the clashes that these countries had was because they accused these soldiers of hoarding charcoal and sugar.
No, those ones were hoarding or stealing. Those
They were
ones were
hoarding.
stealing. And
They
the
were
people
stealing.
were hoarding, yeah.
But you can't steal something that is available to everyone. You know that, right? And you know the only reason you steal these things is so that you can hoard them and sell them for a more expensive price that is unaffordable to most people. And so that's food insecurity. Now I can't afford sugar because they stole and then they hoarded, and now I'm just going to drink my tea without sugar, which is what I do anyway. But still,
I like the angle you were taking about people moving, but also just genuinely speaking, can we say that is happening a lot at the moment or not? Because I feel like maybe like the intertribal clashes that have happened and people have had to move. People have been displaced. I can say those are not frequently happening now, but people are still feeling the effects of them no matter how long ago it happened, because starting from scratch, picking yourself up all over again takes a lot of financial muscle.
it does.
And let's not forget it's draining you emotionally, it's draining you psychologically,
And then you start
physically
having
as
health
well.
issues.
Yeah, and so you have so many things to sort out, and you're starting from scratch, and you literally don't have anything. Everything has been left behind. But also, let's talk about the fact that you find that every other time we have elections or campaigns or even post-elections, there are always political tensions all the time, and people are scared to do some things because they don't know what the effect of that could be.
Yeah.
Right? You find that during an electioneering period in the region, people don't want to invest, not even in agriculture, because
Yes, they don't want to invest.
And you see, there's people who lease land in completely different areas as from where they live, and then they're scared, what if and then this happens,
Yes.
So yes, political instability does affect a lot of things, and food insecurity is one of them in the region. And I just one thing I don't understand is, why can't we just have political stability in this region?
But I feel like that is a whole other episode.
I agree. I do agree. So it's food for thought, though.
Yeah.
So we don't have to answer that, but I really wish we get to that place, because it is affecting every single thing, including our economy. In fact, firsthand on our economy.
Firsthand our economy. Who wants to trade with a country that is politically unstable?
But this is also something else. Another question I'd like to ask you, Wangeshi. So we do export goods, agricultural products. Why are we able to export, but we're not able to provide for our people who are suffering?
Priorities. Let me tell you something. Our people who are suffering cannot afford to buy our goods. It's the same thing I was telling you. You will go to Mount Kenya right now and you tell them, this is what I want to buy. Yes? This is what I want to buy.
Yeah.
And you tell them, I'll buy it for this price. And then someone else, from someone who is actually starving, someone who needs it, comes and says, I don't have this. This is where actually poverty comes in.
Yeah.
But I would like it for this lesser price. As a farmer from Mount Kenya, will you sell it for a lesser price? it is almost impossible. Trade becomes an issue when poverty and political instability are in a region. You see, when you bring the process of the government buying and then giving for free, it almost never happens. It almost never happens unless they have the budget for it. And the budget comes when they have aids from USAID, if Food Agriculture Organization,
FAO.
yes, FAO. When they have aid, they are able to budget for that. They're able to buy maize from one farmer and give to another one who is starving.
Okay.
So the problem becomes, are we going to be buying, you're spending money to buy and then giving for free. By the end of the day, your economy is shaken. So it becomes difficult for them to actually buy the ones that have produced in surplus and give to
the government always has a budget for all these things.
Give.
There's one thing.
Aid.
We should have a budget for that.
Yeah, well, we said mitigation measures and a disaster management package.
I'm not just saying that the government is not doing anything, because they are. Let's face it. Just sometimes what they are doing are probably what we don't agree to, or what wouldn't have been our first option. For example, the government now in East Africa would like to really run to the GMO way.
No, Kenya alone, alone.
These people are. I mean, for example, Uganda has had talks about it. They just haven't accepted completely. Actually, they haven't accepted, and neither has Tanzania. But there are conversations that are being spiked here and there. They're being poked through. But Kenya really has considered it. We know at the moment has been suspended. Yeah. But do you think this is the solution to food insecurity in the region?
I actually love the fact that you brought the GMO conversation. When I was prepping for this thing, I just wanted to talk about GMO. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with genetically modified organisms, personally. And Yona, I love the face. I see that you clearly disagree. I don't have a problem with genetically modified organisms. Yeah. What I have a problem with how Kenya wanted to roll out was the seed sovereignty issue, okay? Our seeds, the ones that Kenyans were to plant, the M810 maize seeds, the ones that were supposed to be, is it 210 or 810? That seed
that was supposed to be planted
in Kenya, the one that was supposed to be introduced is not indigenous to Kenya, okay?
Yeah, yes.
It comes from an organization without Kenya. So the challenge is this maize might come here and do very well in Kenya, but how are we going to get those seeds? And you're the one who told me, we had this discussion, you told me there's no way you can replant.
You cannot.
These genetically modified organisms, once you plant them, the harvest has to be eaten.
Yeah.
Or used for another.
That's it.
You cannot replant it.
Like it will provide food for the people who are suffering from famine and lack of food and all of that. But let's talk about it. Where is the place of the farmer in this whole situation?
Where's the place of the farmer? Yes.
Almost every single crop can be replanted. Out of what you harvest, you can replant it.
Yes, almost.
But the problem with GMO is that you cannot.
You cannot. You just say, David,
that food must be eaten, and also if you don't have money to go back and make that producer rich, then you're just going to suffer, even though you have your piece of land that's just sitting there. And look at it. Now, this is not scientifically proven. This is just something I thought is inside my head, where so the land is fertile, and you've been growing your plants, but now you've introduced something that is it has been manufactured in a lab. That's what's happening. That's what it is. It might cause danger to your soil, like it's no longer fertile. You don't even know if you go back to the original seeds. This is just me thinking.
It's actually an issue.
Yeah, you don't know if it will. If you go back to planting the original seeds that were indigenous to us, whether they are going to do well as they were doing before.
Before we get down to the conversation on soils, let me just tell you that every crop has some sort of effects on soil. Yeah. And this one could have a positive and negative effect. Depends on which soil and where and what are the quantities in the mineral composition of the soil. I do not know what I've said, but you have understood. So essentially, every soil has different mineral compositions, and every crop that comes in introduces minerals and removes some. Okay, so that is something I feel that can be fixed. But yes, it is actually a concern. It is a concern. It is a big concern.
Yeah, so that's a way that the government was considering to mitigate the issue. I just want to I would like to talk about other ways that the government is trying to solve the food insecurity situation in the region.
Aid. Ever since we started this conversation, I've been talking about aid.
My concern, though, is it sustainable?
It's not. That's the point, though. Oh. It's the it's not sustainable. We need to come up with more sustainable ways because you cannot continuously give. I keep saying you cannot buy from one farmer to give to the other one. That economy is shambles. It cannot work. It shouldn't even be working. We should find a sustainable way of producing our own food, or even a sustainable way of getting the money to produce to buy and give.
What do you think is one of the ways that could be sustainable for solving this situation?
Drought-resistant plants, crops. And this is why I started by saying I am for GMO.
Because the plants are drought-resistant, okay.
Yes, some of these crops are drought-resistant. If we could come up with crops that are drought-resistant, then we would distribute the amount of agricultural production all over the country. Yes, these places that are suffering from drought would be able to actually produce their own food. I'm telling you, there's nothing like the power of producing your own food. Even when you're broke, you can just go to your shamba and take something. You have solved food insecurity. The minute those people are able to actually produce their own food, or even produce food that they can trade, giving them the power. That is the 100% citizen power. When you give them the power, and that is where drought-resistant crops comes in.
Yeah,
drought-resistant crops.
That's the only positive. Okay, they are drought and pest-resistant.
But it's not the only
positive thing
of GMOs.
Yeah. Because there's no better way to help them in farming or agriculture other than giving them the power to plant their own.
There are so many other ways you could look at it. One of the reasons as to why we can't sell from one place to the other is because of the amount of perishables, perennials that we grow in Kenya. Okay, so maize that grows within 3 months, 4 months, things like that. And then by some time, if you don't dry it, it's done for. Carrots, things like that. We need to find a different way, like drying. Okay, so there are countries that literally just dry and store their food, and then they're able to sell it within a period of time.
That's what happens. What are you talking about? That's what happens.
How many dried crops have you eaten?
You just gave an example of maize.
I mean,
maize is dried all the time.
Dried all the time. In East Africa, that's all we do. Do we even have the option of eating it?
Any form of grains.
How about the greens? Carrots is what I'm asking. How many carrots have you eaten dry? Do you know that they can be eaten?
Why would I
they can
eat
be
dry when I can eat them?
They can be dehydrated. Now, for you have the option of eating them fresh. Congratulations, you're rich.
No, I'm just thinking, that's very interesting. This is a thought that has never crossed my mind, for us to dry greens.
Yes, you should.
I mean, vegetables, if we are actually just calling them the right name, vegetables. Never thought about it. Fruits, yes. Fruits I have. Everybody has. But what I'm saying is the feeling
Everybody
is different.
has.
But I understand that it's a solution.
Have you ever eaten a dried, dehydrated banana?
Yeah.
Think of Uganda and they like bananas in the Kisii.
When you buy like a sachet or a packet of a bag of dried fruits in the supermarket.
You do that?
No. Not all the time, but you've never?
I didn't even know they sell that.
They sell dried fruits. What do you mean?
You see, I told you poverty.
No,
usually in East Africa because why would you buy
Please don't make me here look like I'm Bill Gates' daughter or something. Or
I think by now they know between the two of us you're the Bill Gates. Don't. Unateseka pia.
Are we trying to lie to people? No, yeah,
but
guys, give me your money.
I think like for dried fruits I've seen a few.
He
but
who has shall be given more.
Amen. But I do have some, so can I get some more? But I feel like I've seen dates. Are they dried?
Yes, you have. Ongeshi, I'm sure you have seen dried fruits all over.
I have seen them in the internet, social media.
Never eaten though.
I don't think I've
They're
seen
not
dried
expensive.
fruits.
We should just try for the
Thank you
sake
for
of
buying
trying.
lunch for today. I appreciate. Thank you so much.
Are we forgetting that this is January? I mean, you're probably gonna say this in February, but are we forgetting that this is January?
Pole kwa kuteseka.
Are we forgetting?
No, but let's move on to this conversation.
Let's speak in the present and remember it's January. Yes.
What else do you think they can do? Because I think it's imperative for us to change the narrative towards food. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be fresh. It has to be available. First things first. Have your people eaten? And that is one of the things that the government should do. It should support innovations and technology, and the youth should come up with these innovations and technology that could see to the reduction of the food insecurity rates in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Particularly when we talk about what can we do with the food that we already have? Okay, this is what I have in my hand. What can we do with it? And we see a lot of food going bad because no one is buying it. We see a lot of food decomposing in the stores of the farmers in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, while some other people sleep hungry. What can we do to balance that scale? Okay, and dried food is one of them because you find most of these foods that go bad, they are perishable perennials that they grow within specific seasons, and once they're done for within that season, imeisha your season until the next year, until the next season you get.
One thing though that I also genuinely feel is that governments tend to neglect people living in drought-prone areas, just like in terms of almost every single aspect, including just even giving them like even education. When you look at the buildings they study in, the school situation is really not good. When you look at even empowerment of any sort, they really don't put in much investment as they should. And I mean, those areas do have leaders, and people come out and vote during elections.
It's very
because
difficult.
their area leaders are elected by those people. And I wonder what is it they do for them, and how do they represent them, because they don't. It's like some very pertinent issues are not addressed.
It's very
I
difficult.
know it's difficult, but starting from somewhere is always the first
I feel
step.
like they have started. There were no schools. Now there are schools where people share desks, but there were no schools. Let me not get into politics. Honestly.
What I'm just saying is sometimes you assess the situation in areas that you see, even among, say for example, take an example of a parent who has kids. They understand their kids are not the same. They have different strengths and different challenges. So when it comes to a certain challenge, they know that this particular child needs a little more attention. And when it comes to a different one, this other one needs a little more attention in that area. So what I'm saying is the government really does need to focus a little more and invest a little more in some situations, and actually not all, if not all situations, most of the situations, because these people need to be empowered. I don't know if you've ever maybe watched documentaries of these regions and you just realize how, especially the women, it's like they have zero empowerment. Zero. I feel like they need to be empowered economically, to be encouraged in terms of businesses, in terms of everything they can do, how they can use resources that they have. I know they don't have much, but they usually have things that are different from the other areas, because, for example, those people in drought-prone areas, you find that most of them do have camels. Yeah. And the rest of us don't have. And they do have, they get camel milk, they get products. And most of it just doesn't really go to waste, but it could
it does not translate to the food security that we want it to translate to. It
doesn't. And I mean, it's not the only option, it's not the only thing. But what I'm saying is you find that there's a lot of ways, or even if they're limited, the limited options that the government has really needs to explore them to the depth, because they're still part of the region, they're still part of our country, they're still our citizens.
I feel like this is bringing up a conversation that we are going to have. I definitely think we should plan to have it on how the state allocation. Okay, the last time there was this conversation in the Senate, and they were asking how counties should be distributed. Well, okay, so who gets them? Or the one that produces more money, or the one that has no money? And you find in such conversations, there's a lot of debate, and we're going to have it. But the most debate comes in is if an area has the potential to produce this amount of billions, then it should be given the money. And so you find areas like the arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya, the ones that are suffering from drought right now, they don't have the potential. So why are we spending money on that? But that is a conversation we are going to have as we wind up.
Do you know how many countries are in desert areas? Like they're just desert countries, but they do produce a lot. Because the government actually. Do you know how
the Arab
like Israel, Egypt,
the UAE, are doing so well. They're doing so well. They're doing so well.
Yeah, they're doing so well. For example, Egypt is doing so well agriculturally,
and they only have one river.
One. Egypt is pretty much a desert, you know.
Yes, it is actually.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just us guys who are actually not giving those areas a chance.
There's a lot of things that come into. Yeah. There's a lot of things that come into play when you compare Egypt to Kenya, and we have had this benchmarking for years, and we have had this comparison for years.
The former president went there to benchmark agriculturally.
Yes,
I don't know how that has helped us. You know, yeah.
Yes. That is a conversation we're going to have. I want us to wind up on the question of what is the role of the youth towards curbing food insecurity in East Africa.
I feel like the youth are change makers in every single. They should be. We should be change makers in everything. I feel like that's the right demographic to always start conversations on a lot of these areas, because like I mentioned, one thing you tend to realize about African leaders is that You see you in a room. You see that elephant
Yes.
that everybody's seeing.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what they do?
What do
they
they
turn away and look the other side. So they, I feel like the young people, the youth are the people who can start these conversations, the people who can hold our governments to account.
To account, yeah.
Yeah. And I also feel like, you see, for us guys need to support each other as a demographic, and us guys can always, you see, all these things we're talking about. We are the people to do it. We're people to start this.
Yeah, we are the people to start all of these things.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I will call out to the youths today. Kamera ya nyumbani iko wapi? I think one of the things I'll call out to the youths today is to actually be innovative. Okay, it is imperative to be innovative. Come up with those. There's so many farming initiatives, innovations that are happening every single day.
Except our youth are not
Why are we
interested
not
in
farming?
farming.
Why do you have a farm? I mean, you're Kenyan. Do you have a farm?
I haven't bought land yet.
Oh.
It's in the plans. So I
No, but is farming something that you consider doing?
Yes.
Definitely.
100%.
After all of these conversations, I would have
Not before,
initiated it
way
in you.
before this conversation, I 100%. But if you're talking about me having my own piece of land, I don't have it yet. But is it in the long-term plans? Yes, it is. If what you're asking is whether I do support farming where I come from, then yeah. Because where I come from, that land is on my land. You know,
But you're
that's
there
family-
breadwinner.
that's family land.
You're supporting the farming.
That's family land. So yeah. So do I chip in when I need to, or in a manner that I can? Yes, I do.
Rich people?
Yes, I.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yes, God.
Accept the blessings. It's 2023.
I claim it.
Amen. Thank you.
In Jesus'
As we
name,
move.
I claim it.
But it is imperative for the youth to recognize that the importance of diversifying. Yes, everybody will plant maize. What are you doing differently? Okay, so in my research I came across a few things I wanted to put forward. Like this guy who's ninning worms. Did you know that worms?
No, I
are
didn't
plants?
understand what you said. Ninning worms.
I know, right? The
Is it
worms.
farming?
Yes,
Farming?
he's
I saw someone who saw
Centipedes.
cockroaches.
centipedes and sells a kilo for 2,500.
Hold up.
Ha, see my
Who
face.
is
See my
buying?
face.
Who is buying
People are
centipedes?
buying. He's a farmer who farms
For
centipedes.
what? So you can do what with centipedes?
I don't know you eat them.
And those things poisonous?
Are they?
Yes, they are. Millipedes are what are not poisonous.
Earthworms is what I meant. We have been making faces because of centipedes. No, he sells earthworms.
Who buys
In Mary County. And apparently the county had channeled 4.3
You
million.
said a kilo for how much?
2,500 Kenya shillings, which is approximately what? How many USD dollars?
240.
240.
Not 240. Gosh.
$24. That's not
24.
bad. $24
No,
per
wait.
kilo.
No, wait. Who's buying?
People
Who does he
buy.
sell to?
I
People
don't
are buying and
know.
do what with them?
To eat? It's food. We are talking about food. You don't see your face. People are buying earthworms for 2,500 a kilo, and the county government of Meru
People are buying
spent about
earthworms?
4.3 million. 4.3 million in a county government. The county government
This
of
is
Meru
like a
towards
video- wait.
the growth
No
of
way.
earthworms. Growth and development of earthworms. Yes, diversify.
I saw another one who's farming cockroaches, and I'm wondering who is buying cockroaches.
For what? Food battle.
No idea.
Okay.
The same way I saw someone preparing on social media, I'm looking for a friendly name to call it, but balls of a cow. Balls
Diversify.
of bulls.
Diversify.
No,
Yeah,
like,
but
like
you
you
see,
guys,
a lot of insects are coming into the
we're
market.
getting
so many people
wild
eat
here.
different-
We're getting a little wild here.
No, but what's the message by the end of the day? How can we sleep hungry when we could?
No. That's
we
what
could
I'm
farm
just
insects?
wondering. Like, so okay.
I think we need to actually
rest-
change our
I rest my
attitudes towards
case.
food. There's this insect
No,
that people
I won't
normally
eat earthworms. Thanks.
There's this insect when it rains. What is it called?
Termites?
The termites. They're called termites. People eat that.
Yes, I
Your
do.
people eat that.
Yes, I do.
Ah.
That's food.
See, these are the people that are buying.
That has
this
always
is the
been
market. This is the market. And I feel like over a period of time, if you people eat it and normalize it, definitely people
What do you
like
mean if
me
you
who
people
don't.
eat it? You don't eat termites?
People who eat, I don't eat termites
Why?
yet. What is
Okay.
yet? So if you guys
Okay.
normalize it and you actually create a market for it, why shouldn't I buy termites and eat it? Why?
But like earthworms.
Earthworms is next. So, like,
Cockroaches.
the head of ICIPE was saying that they have come up with like over 1,000 programs for farmers in East Africa who are engaged in rearing of insects.
Okay.
Yes. So this population could grow, and it starts with the youth taking that initiative to decide that I want to be the change maker, like Anyona said. Yeah. Taking that significant step to decide that I want to be the next earthworm farmer. And that man, the man that was farming earthworms, he said that that is the most flourished he has ever been. He's recognized that this spaces, this niche,
What? I don't know the word you're looking for. Yes, niche.
the niche. Oh, finally, this niche, they are not occupied by many people. Not very many.
I mean,
people
that's
are afraid.
true. I should probably start farming earthworms, guys.
You see,
I mean, because
that's
they,
the
ca- they, no, no, no,
idea.
they can't bite you, so that's fine. My issue is just like people actually cook and like.
Yeah, and we have community gardens. That is another initiative that is coming up. Yeah, you and your squad come up, create community gardens. Gardens are vertical gardens that do not occupy a lot of space. Taking up gardens in your urban spaces in the cities.
I was
things
wondering
like
what you're
that.
saying. You're saying gardens.
Gardens. What was?
I was hearing guardians. I was gonna ask you what are community guardians.
It's the way I'm twanging this air for me. Community gardens.
Okay.
Gardens.
Thrive, sis, thrive.
So
gardens.
there are very many things
Yes.
that young people can do. Sit down intentionally.
You don't have to farm
You don't have to farm.
horizontally.
You don't even have to own land.
horizontally. You have to farm vertically.
You don't even have to own land. Do you have a balcony?
Guys, I shall
Just
not
say yes.
disclose my living situation.
Just say yes.
I shall not disclose my
Uh,
living situation.
But the point is, if the minute we actually take it up as our responsibility for food security to come into the country, we recognize that if I don't buy that thing from that person, that food might go somewhere else. And if I am able to produce my own food, I will become the most food secure that I have ever been. Yeah, as a country, but also as an individual, as a community, as a group of people. Instead of next time you want to go feed people, the next time there's a hazard or something like that, the next time you want to actually go and give people maize and dried foods and things like that, take the time to actually teach them about community gardens.
That's what I'm
Learn
saying. People
about
need to be
it.
taught.
Yes.
They need to be empowered.
People need to have this knowledge and
Yeah.
the skills to actually curb food security. It starts with you. Yeah, it's not the government. It's not a government issue. It's an individual issue. And I am done. Can we finish?
Oh my God. Did we just get passionate there? Yes, we did. That's what we do. This is Speak Up Africa. My name is Anyona Bulungu.
And
now,
my
this
name
is
is
the thing.
Agisha
We
Karen.
missed you. And you're going to say your name. It's like, okay, say your name.
Let's just continue.
Yes, we did miss you. So make sure to keep in touch with us. Follow us across all our social media platforms for more deep conversations and to always keep tabs with us as we do with you, because we'd like to hear about your ideas and thoughts and opinions and recommendations when it comes to all matters youth and all matters current affairs. Again, my name is Anyona Bulungu.
And now I can say my name.
Yes.
My name is Wangeshi Keremi. Take a minute to tell us on our social media platforms, Speak Up Africa with a K. Just the K is always constant.
The K is always constant.
We cannot emphasize that. The K is always constant. Take a minute to tell us, what do you think we can do as individuals, as communities, and as a country to solve the food
And
insecurity?
our region.
And our region, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. How can we solve food security? And also, do you have an urban garden? Do you have a vertical garden on your balcony? Because Anyona doesn't, but she's going to get one. That is all from us today, and I think I can close it at that. Thank you very much. We will see you on episode 2.
Yes.